Hey YouTube, it's ICU and welcome to the 202nd episode of Best Tech Info and Rumors. Starting off, we're going to talk about a few different topics in this week's episode, but first, let's discuss Apple's upcoming next generation iPhone. So yes, the iPhone 6. And before we actually get into the new information in this week's episode, I wanted to remind you guys that I did release two recent videos concerning the device. I actually was able to obtain a leaked rear housing for the iPhone 6, and I created two different videos, the first of which being an in-depth HD close-up look at the component and a comparison between the corresponding component for the iPhone 5S, and the second one being a video dispelling rumors suggesting that the rear Apple logo may glow and light up for missed notifications. And following those two exciting videos, which I will have links to down below in the more info if you missed them, we have additional information. This time, another key piece of intel was allegedly leaked, and it's related to the iPhone 6's battery capacity. So according to a new report that was originally publicized on a Chinese microblogging site by the name of Weibo, the final production version of the iPhone 6, the model that's all but confirmed to sport a 4.7-inch display, will supposedly feature a 2100 mAh battery. Now, claiming to be familiar with and citing sources from Apple's various supply chains that span across China, the analyst in the aforementioned report also suggests that the images of the batteries for test units further solidify that the final battery will be increased to such a capacity. Unfortunately though, while a 2100 mAh battery is a vast improvement over the current iPhone 5S's 1560 mAh battery, it pales in comparison to batteries that power its Android rivals, including both the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the 2014 HTC One M8. However, with that being said, keep in mind that due to the fact that iOS is engineered to work in synchronous with the specific hardware that goes into the creation of iPhones, iPads, and iPod Touches, Apple is able to squeeze the most juice out of every milliamp hour, whereas smartphone manufacturers for Android simply don't have the same level of control over software and hardware optimizations. Now, while we won't know for sure until the iPhone 6 is actually announced and revealed, it's definitely possible that the battery life of the upcoming device will be comparable to that of the iPhone 5S if the rumor holds true, and while the capacity would be increased, keep in mind that it would have to power a larger, likely 4.7-inch display. An image of the battery that was up during this segment of this video allegedly belonged to a test iPhone 6 pre-production, so it was actually a lower capacity than, again, the rumored 2100 mAh. And let's actually move on to a new report from Recode that may have answered a question we've all been asking: when will the iPhone 6 be released? While we're undoubtedly weeks away from catching our first glimpse at the future of Apple's iPhone hardware lineup, the aforementioned report claims to nail down a specific date for when such a glimpse may occur: September 9th. Now, the iPhone 6, like each of its predecessors, is expected to sport a massive performance boost, a radical new design change, and feature a 4.7-inch display with a possible 5.5-inch variation. Now, if you're interested in the radical design change, again, more details can be found in the videos where I highlight the leaked component, and I will have links to both of those down below in the more info. You can also find them linked to on my channel. And as for the purported September 9th unveiling, Apple reportedly has a grand media event scheduled for the second Tuesday in September, which will likely be reminiscent of similar events from years past. The iPhone will likely be available for pre-order following the event, which again is rumored to take place September 9th, 2014, and the device is expected to go on sale later that month. And now moving on, let's talk about iOS 8. So earlier this week, exactly 2 weeks after seeding the fourth beta iteration of iOS 8 to registered developers, Apple has released iOS 8.0 Beta 5 to, again, developers, which is available for immediate download through the company's developers section. And in one of my more recent videos, I highlight how it's technically possible to restore an updated device to iOS 8 Beta 5 that's UDID isn't officially registered through an iOS developer account. If you're interested in that video, of course it's merely for educational purposes, I will have it linked to below, and again, it can be found on my channel as well as Best Tech Info. Also, I wanted to talk about unlocking. I did mention it in last week's episode, however I wanted to go into more depth in this week's video. So let's talk about the process of unlocking an iPhone for use on other carriers besides the ones they're initially locked to. And that's typical of carriers here in the United States. In other countries, they often sell phones exclusively unlocked, but that's not the case here. So let's talk about unlocking, especially since there have been some really exciting developments. So while we can still achieve root access on the latest public firmware being 7.1.2 by jailbreaking, unlocking an iPhone, let's use unlocking an AT&T iPhone 5S for use on T-Mobile as an example, has been a completely different story until now. Following unanimous approval in the major branches of government, President Obama confirmed that he will sign the Unlocking Consumer and Wireless Competition Act into law, which will affect all cell phone owners in the United States, particularly those looking to unlock iPhones. And in last week's episode, I discussed why the process was technically considered illegal under the DMCA or Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Just be sure to watch that video and then come back to this one if you're at all interested in that aspect of it. However, now, again, thanks to the new Unlocking Consumer and Wireless Competition Act, unlocking will officially be considered legal once again, and those in desperate need of unlocking their iPhones on iOS 7 or 7.1.x, for instance, will be able to more easily do so with the new services that are bound to come into fruition in light of this act. Additionally, due to the previously considered taboo act of unlocking an iPhone, prices of IMEI or hardware unlocks skyrocketed, the availability dropped off, and the reliability of actually receiving the service that was paid for became almost non-existent. As more IMEI iPhone unlocking services establish themselves, competition will increase and the current high prices will start to drop. And if an iPhone's actually locked into a specific carrier, the process of unlocking it can actually be a bit tricky, because essentially someone from said carrier has to input an iPhone's IMEI into their whitelist database, and then from there it will essentially be considered hardware or factory unlocked, and it will be able to be used across any carrier that supports its hardware. So for instance, if you have a GSM iPhone, you will be able to use it on other GSM carriers, and that's actually the most common type and the one that's actually used overseas the most. And if you're at all interested in a possible IMEI unlocking service brought to you by myself, Evasion Jailbreak, and possibly Adrian from iPod Uplink, Jailbreak Nation, and Free App Life, just be sure to let me know down below in the comment section. Of course, though, it will have to be paid, because essentially what we'll be doing is acting as the intermediary between the people who actually have the authority to unlock iPhones at the carriers themselves. So again, let me know down below in the comment section here on YouTube or on BestTechInfo. And moving on, I want to quickly discuss jailbreaking. So nothing's really changed in the world of jailbreaking. As I mentioned before, it's still possible to jailbreak the latest public firmware, being 7.1.2. However, Apple is expected to release iOS 7.1.3 in the foreseeable future to patch various complications that users are still experiencing on 7.1.x. Of course, really the only jailbreak that Apple's left unpatched for any substantial period of time was Absinthe 2, which was released for iOS 5.1.1, and it actually wasn't corrected and patched until Apple released iOS 6 to the general public. However, I don't foresee that happening this time around, and the company will most likely issue 7.1.3 to patch the iOS 7.1.x Pangu Untethered jailbreak. So if you have yet to jailbreak, just be sure to do so. Again, you can on the latest firmware being iOS 7.1.2. As of the time of recording this episode, I have numerous in-depth guides that can be found on my channel as well as below this video. Alright, and that pretty much concludes everything I wanted to discuss in this week's episode. I really quickly wanted to touch on another iPhone 6 related rumor, however, a new set of images of what's allegedly a rear casing for Apple's upcoming iPhone 6, as well as the component to actually fit into the slot for the Apple logo, which were leaked and began making their rounds across various Apple blogs, claim that the device will feature a scratch-resistant Apple logo. However, the ironic thing is that the image of said Apple logo is actually covered in scratches, and the rear housing isn't actually as far along in the Apple's production cycle as the component that I detailed in my 2 leaked videos. Alright, and that's it for this week's episode. If you liked it and you're interested in my $100 Amazon giveaway, just be sure to rate it up and leave a relevant comment down below in the comments section. Also, once you've done that, just be sure to visit bit.ly/getfreeapplife or freeapplife.com inside of mobile Safari, and then once you've downloaded Free App Life, install sponsored apps for points, and then redeem said points for various prizes, including paid applications, gift cards, and bigger electronic devices. Free App Life also, of course, holds numerous giveaways on a regular basis now, so just be sure to check it out. And if you guys want to be updated more often, such as when I release new videos on various things like iPhone 6 and jailbreak related topics, just be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, add me one of your circles inside of Google+, follow me on Instagram at ICUID, and subscribe to my secondary YouTube channel at youtube.com/ICUID. And until next time, this is ICU signing out.